What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video, we're going to talk about the top 10 things you can't do after prison. Or can you? While I was doing the research for this video, I was quite surprised to learn, as I'm sure you will be as well, that certain things that you would automatically assume a person with a felony criminal record or somebody who has been to prison couldn't do actually can. But before we get into this, I first want to take this time to say thank you to the entire APS Army. It is because of all of you that just yesterday we were able to reach 600,000 subscribers here on After Prison Show. Something that I consider an amazing accomplishment, and something also that would not be possible without all of you out there who continue to show support and rock with this channel. So for me personally, I'd just like to say thank you to all of you out there who helped After Prison Show reach this amazing milestone. Moving on though, let's go ahead and get into these top 10 things you can't do after prison. Or can you? I'm telling you, you're going to be surprised in this video. You know, when you type in "can a felon ever" on Google, I'm going to go ahead and show you the first couple of things that popped up when I did this. Can a felon ever own a gun? Can a felon ever vote? Can a felon ever buy a gun? Can a felon ever go to Canada? Can a felon ever own a handgun? Can a felon ever own a gun in Texas? Can a felon ever own a gun in Kansas? And you know, I really don't know why so many things pop up about a felon and a gun. I'm not sure if those two things are supposed to go hand in hand together. However, when you type in "can a felon ever," it sure brings up a long list of questions about what exactly a felon can do, but more importantly, what a felon cannot do. And believe me, there's a lot of things you can't do coming home from prison. However, like I told you earlier, you're going to be quite surprised about some of these things that you would have otherwise thought a guy coming home from prison couldn't do. And I learned today, and I'm going to share with all of you, that we were wrong in that assumption. And you know, I just got to admit this real quick. I don't like being wrong. I don't. But of course, it's all of this gun talk that brings us to the very first thing that a guy coming home from prison cannot do at all, and that is bear arms. You like that right there? I was looking for a pair of bear arms especially, and I found this awesome little picture right here. I'm thinking about getting this tattooed on me. That's how much I like that picture right there. But that has absolutely nothing to do, at least I don't think it has anything to do with, a guy coming home from prison and being allowed to possess, own, or carry a gun. According to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, that would be the ATF. And thank God old Joe's never had to have no dealings with them boys right there. ATF, get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground. ATF! You ever have some dealings with them, you're going to need you a high-paid lawyer. I'm just saying, they ain't coming for nothing. But according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, felons whose convictions have been set aside or expunged, or for which the person has been pardoned or has had civil rights restored, are not considered convicted. Boy, I'm telling you, they really make that whole having a felony thing sound pretty damn bad. Oh, you've been convicted? I know you said you had a felony, but now you're saying you convicted. You gonna have to get out of this gun store with that whole convicted nonsense. We ain't having no convicted in here. And thus they would not be prohibited from owning a gun. So basically what they're saying right there in a nutshell is, if you've been convicted of a felony, you ain't gonna own you no handgun, no gun at all. Unless you get your record expunged, you get your rights restored. Good luck with that. And to be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you the first thing to do in relation to going about trying to get your rights restored. Rights restored? Where they doing that at? So yeah, the first thing on this list is bearing arms. And ain't no convicted felon. Ain't no convicted felon ever gotta worry about doing anything like that. And you know, I think there's some other things that fall into this bearing arms thing as well, such as having a taser outside of your home. I know I went through a situation recently where I did a video of me getting tased for Gay Dave. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, Joe, you shouldn't have a taser. You're a felon." I'm like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know this." And I did the research on it, and it says that I can have a taser. I just can't have it with me outside of my home. What am I gonna need a taser for outside of my home? Also, felons can't own crossbows. However, I think, I'm not exactly 100% sure about this, somebody please tell me, but I think that a felon can have a bow and arrow. But again, I'm not sure, please don't quote me on that. I do know that there's like a very few things in relation to a weapon that a felon can have, but I also know that there's a much greater list of things that they cannot. Let's go ahead and move on to number 2 of the things you can't do coming home from prison. Serve on a jury. Now, the first thing I gotta say about this is, why would anybody who's just served time in prison want to serve on a jury in the first place. I know if they put me on that jury, I'm going to be like, not guilty. That's all I got to say, not guilty. I don't even know why I'm here on this jury, not guilty though. I'm not convicting this man.
But Joe, all of the evidence points at him. He's the guy who did it. I'm telling you, it's a conviction.
Could you imagine me on a damn jury? But real quick, let's go ahead and look at this information on how juries are selected. If you have been convicted of a crime that was a felony, you usually will not or cannot be called for jury duty service. That is because the names for jury duty are drawn from a registrar, I think that's how you pronounce that, of voters. Usually felons cannot register to vote. Therefore, their names will not be included on that registrar list. However, this mandate can vary depending on the state. So it sounds like from what I'm reading right there is a chance, a slight chance, that I could end up on a jury. See, I'm telling you, for the last time we've been doing this for 15 hours, I'm not convicting this man, not guilty. He's not guilty. I don't care. Why are your glasses looking like that?
Why are you worried about my glasses?
Why don't you just go get a new
Stop
pair?
it! Stop talking about my glasses! Stop.
But serving on a jury is similar to the whole bear arms thing. If a guy can get his rights restored, get his record expunged, then he can actually serve on a jury. And I'm not exactly sure if you get your rights restored or get your record expunged, does that make you no longer a convicted felon? This one, it's gonna shock you. But you would think that a guy coming home from prison could not, cannot, will never hold public office. Meaning run for governor, maybe a Senate seat, hell, maybe even the presidency. However, as I was doing research for this one in particular, I was completely shocked to learn that in some states, felons whose convictions were older than 10 years may hold public office. Other states maintain that anyone convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude may not serve an elected position. What in the hell is moral turpitude? That sounds like one of them charges you might have to register for when you go home. Hey yo man, what you in prison for anyway?
Moral turpitude?
This is a commissary bubble sheet. I'm gonna need you to order $100 for me every single month. And you're gonna be all right inside this prison. You just order this, get this commissary back to me, and you ain't gonna have no more problems. Well, damn, if I'd have just kept reading, it says exactly what moral turpitude refers to. Lying, deceit, fraudulent receipt of public funds, or breaking financial responsibilities. Well, that doesn't sound that bad at all. I mean, those are bad charges, but definitely not charges like I thought they were. Texas specifies anyone convicted of bribery, perjury, forgery, or other high crimes. Bribery, perjury, forgery, high crimes. Does that mean those are crimes you commit when you high? Because ain't no other way those sound like any kind of high crimes to me. Shall be excluded from an elected position. In Georgia, anyone convicted of a crime of moral turpitude may not hold public office unless their rights have been restored and at least 10 years have passed since the completion of that sentence. But if I'm reading this correctly, I mean, I got drug charges. It ain't say nothing about no drug charges. Are you telling me I could run for some kind of office? Now, you know, this whole running for public office this one really sounded crazy to me because there was a lot that was pointing in the direction that a guy with a criminal record could, in fact, actually run for public office. And so this got me to wondering, I wonder if there's any elected officials right now who got a criminal record. And wouldn't you be surprised to know that I found this guy? Alaska Senator Ted Stevens was convicted on 7 felony counts of corruption in late October. Stevens ran for re-election November 4th against Democrat Mark something, and the two are awaiting the official results as the votes are still being counted. This guy, Ted Stevens, was convicted of 7 counts of corruption. 1 count of corruption seems bad enough for me, but 7 counts though? Are you corrupt? Thinking about all of this, you think about when a campaign is going on and all the commercials you see, how they're always trying to paint the other guy to be like horrible. Just imagine the kind of commercials you were seeing about Ted Stevens. Ted Stevens is running for re-election this November. What he doesn't want you to know is that he was just convicted on 7 counts of corruption. 1 count would make you bad enough, Stevens, but 7 counts? On election day, go ahead and give a big old F you to Ted Stevens. Are you corrupt son of a... And by the way, F is for felon. I'm really curious to know the results of that election. Let's go ahead and move on to number 4 of the big old no-nos after prison. And this is one that I had heard so many conflicting things about. Yes, you can. No, you can't. No, you never will. But number 4 is vote. You cannot vote after prison. Or can you? Now I know, and without even having to do the research, I know that here in Virginia, they just had a bunch of felons who had never before voted. They actually just voted this past November. This was the first time ever they had done this, and they made a big deal about it. I saw it on Twitter. I know this is for real. Twitter, my trusted source for news. But I wasn't exactly sure what the deal was with this. Did these felons have to get their rights restored, records expunged? I didn't know what it was, so I did the research on this. And what I learned was that the ability to vote as a felon, as a guy who's coming home from prison, this varies from state to state. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples, starting with Michigan. Individuals incarcerated for a felony conviction are ineligible to vote. Voting rights are automatically restored, however, upon release from prison. So these guys don't have to do anything at all. They can just get released from prison, and the next day they can go vote for old Ted Stevens, which I'm quite sure nobody's really going to be voting for that guy. And even people on parole and probation can vote. Ex-offenders should register to vote, and then it gives the website where they can do so at. Vermont, where it says that the right to vote is never taken away from individuals convicted of a felony, even while they're incarcerated. I'm wondering, if you're locked up in Vermont and it's election day, are you allowed to vote there? I have no idea, but I'd really like to know. And then, of course, the state that I'm in, the state that I really wanted to know about, Virginia, where I learned that individuals convicted of a felony are ineligible to vote while incarcerated on parole or on probation. Major difference right there. If you're on parole or probation, you ain't doing no voting. At least that's what it's saying right here. Nonviolent felons, including sale of drugs, I've got those charges, boss, will have their voting rights automatically restored upon release from prison. Oh, I thought we was about to read something bad right there. I can vote, but must fill out this online form. There's a link for it right there. Those convicted of violent felonies, crimes against minors, and electoral offenses. I have no idea what an electoral offense is. Hey, yo, man, what you doing in prison, man? You don't look right in here. What are your charges? Electoral offenses. I'm gonna need you to go get me $150 in commissary. Bring that right to me, and you'll be safe to live in this prison. You don't bring that to me, you need to go to protective custody. Electoral offenses, though? What the hell is that? Funniest damn thing is, I never did anything like that while I was in prison. I never told anybody, you need to pay me to live here. Saw quite a bit of that happen, though. But anyways, it says people convicted of those crimes, they got to wait 3 years before they can apply to vote. Moving on to number 5, one that seems like a no-brainer to me. Travel abroad, mean leaving the country, mean obtaining a passport. Something that I'm quite sure I'm not going to be able to do. While not all felons are barred from applying for and receiving a passport, there are certain drug charges that can keep you from having your application approved. If you're convicted of a drug-related felony or a certain drug-related misdemeanor, you are ineligible to get a passport during the time you are incarcerated, as well as during your court-mandated probation period, and can even have an extant passport taken away. But wait a minute. Now that I'm reading this, it's saying that while I'm on probation, being convicted of a drug charge and being on parole or probation, I can't get that passport. But I'm released from probation, so can I leave the country? Oh, boy. Hey, how do I apply for a passport? I'm about to go to Brazil. I mean, I don't know. I just named the first place that came to mind, and it just happened to be Brazil. Maybe the UK. I'd really like to go to the UK. Maybe Australia. Though I've watched Border Wars, and Australia seems like a pretty tough country to get into. I've seen guys trying to get in there with a passport, with a criminal record. They getting them frisky feelers put on, and they dropping their pants. I don't really know if I want to go through all that just trying to get into Australia, though. So again, I mean, it already sounded like a no-brainer thinking that if you had drug charges, you weren't going to be able to get a passport. However, I did learn that there were some other charges that could prevent you from getting one as well, that you might have never even thought could prevent you from leaving the country. People who have unpaid child support arrears, I don't even know what that means, of over $2,500 are not eligible for a U.S. passport. Before you apply for a passport, you must make arrangements with the state where the child support is owed to make those payments. Oh, they gonna get that money for you try to leave the country. You got child support? Child support? What you mean I got back child? I didn't even know I had a child. Excuse me, I'm gonna need a passport. I'm trying to get to Mexico immediately. Can you hurry up? Number 6 is one that I'm pretty familiar with personally, and that is joining the military. Before I got locked up and went to prison, I was actually trying desperately to avoid ending up going to prison. And one of the things that I did in an effort to avoid going down the path that I would end up going down was I actually went and tried to join the Army. Now at this point, I'm like 24 years old. I got a criminal record. I've already been convicted of a couple of felonies, because since the age of 18, I was getting in trouble. And I went and talked to these Army recruiters and they looked at my criminal record and they said, it's not impossible. You're going to have to do some pretty crazy things, however, in an effort to be able to join the Army. They told me I was going to need to get my GED, something that I didn't have. They told me I was also going to have to go to college. No bull. They told me I was going to have to go to college and get X amount of college credited hours before I could join the Army. And the only thing I'm thinking to myself is, I'm sitting here trying to join the Army so I can go die for something instead of dying for nothing in these streets like there's a good potential that I'm going to. And y'all telling me I got to go to college before I can join the Army? I ain't even got no GED. But what this does prove is that people with a criminal record, with a felony on their record, they can join the Army. Certain charges can be waived. However, there are certain charges that cannot. Automatic bars to enlistment. There is a short list of behavior the Army considers unforgivable. I know this is about to be good. For some, such as multiple felony convictions, there's no waivers. Wait a minute. I had multiple felony convictions, and they were still willing to take me. Or at least they were telling me they were. Were they lying to me? There's also no waiver if you're on probation, parole, or locked up. Brings up a good point, though, just to think about that. What would you rather do? Would you rather be locked up in prison, or would you rather be sent off to war? I mean, you're already in war in prison, so would you rather go fight for your life for your country, or would you rather fight for your life behind bars? This also applies if you have charges pending, unless these charges are for unpaid traffic tickets. You can't get a waiver if you have multiple felony convictions, or one felony and 3 other minor offenses, or a conviction for distributing or selling drugs. Well, I got that charge now, so I'm guessing the Army's out the window for me. If you have previously served and have a bad conduct record, or an undesirable or dishonorable discharge, you're ineligible to re-enter the military, or if you're physically or psychologically dependent on marijuana, you can't get a waiver. Ain't gonna be doing no smoking no marijuana while you in the Army. It just don't sound like that's gonna be happening. If you have 3 or more DUI convictions, you're an alcoholic, and you're also not gonna join the Army. Or 5 or more misdemeanor convictions in the 5 years prior to your proposed enlistment, you can't get a waiver. So those are some pretty specific things to keep in mind right there. It sounds like it's a pretty fine line to try to skirt and skate between if you have a record and you're trying to join the military. Number 7, renting an apartment. If you've got a felony or you're just coming home after prison, you might as well not even waste your time with a property management group, meaning pretty much for the most part, an apartment complex. Property management groups are very stringent regarding felons. Most of them will not consider renting an apartment to a felon under most circumstances. You can always apply, but chances are you will never hear back from them once your background check is run. That right there sounds pretty disheartening. And I know personally when I came home from prison, nobody was trying to rent to me. But some good places to look if you are coming home, if you do have a felony on your record and you're trying to get your own place. 1, Craigslist, maybe somebody who actually owns that place, a personal owner, somebody who might be a little more lenient on the fact that you got a criminal record. Hey man, I'm just coming home from prison. I got a job. I can pay this rent. I'm no longer involved in that same dumb stuff that sent me to prison. I'm just looking for another chance. Get out. Get out. Get off my property right now if I call the law on you. Get the hell out of here. Not all of them are going to give you a chance, but you will find somebody who will. Number 8 is also another one that I dealt with personally when I first came home from prison. Something that I was not able to get, and something that I definitely needed, as crazy as it's going to sound. Food stamps. Yeah, I was not able to get food stamps when I first came home from prison. Again, something that I really needed. I had no money. I had no food. I had nothing for real. And I mean, I needed them damn food stamps. I knew that was going to be something that could help me until I was able to get on my feet. However, when I went and applied for food stamps, they told me because I had those drug conviction charges, I wasn't getting any food stamps. And the crazy thing about it is, I don't know how true it is, but I had heard that people with sex offenses were able to get food stamps. So just think about that. Here I am coming home from prison, and right next to me comes home another guy who's got some messed up charges. I can't get food stamps because of the fact that I got drug charges, but yet this guy has these really bad charges, way worse than anything I've got. He can't get food stamps. What's he gonna do with those food stamps? Go buy a bunch of candy to give it away? Out the back of his creepy old pedo van. Number 9 is another one that I thought I couldn't get. However, when I did the research for this, I learned that I might have been a little bit wrong about this. But getting financial aid with a felony on your record or after coming home from prison. And I was always of the mindset that because I had these drug convictions, I was never going to be able to apply for financial aid. However, when I did the research, I learned that I might have been a little wrong. First, if I'm on probation or parole, can I get federal student aid? Yes, if you're on probation or parole or living in a halfway house, you may be eligible for federal student aid. But remember, if you were convicted of a drug-related offense or you were subject to an involuntary civil commitment for a sexual offense, your eligibility may be limited. Well, I was convicted of those drug offenses, so maybe I was right. Maybe I can't get financial aid. Is it true that drug convictions might affect my ability to get federal student aid? Yes. Your eligibility might be suspended if the offense occurred while you were receiving federal student aid, grants, loans, or work study. When you complete the FAFSA, I think that's what they're going for there, you will be asked whether you had a drug conviction for an offense that occurred while you were receiving federal student aid. If the answer is yes, you will be provided a worksheet to help you determine whether your conviction affects your eligibility for federal student aid. So hold on. It's saying that if I was receiving federal student aid at the time when I got the drug conviction, that's a whole different thing. However, what if I've never had federal student aid, which I've never had that? Would I be eligible? And I'm thinking maybe I might be. I'm pretty sure I'd have to jump through some pretty big hoops to try to get that, but it does sound like there's at least a slight possibility, I could apply and receive federal student aid with the convictions that I do have. And last on this list that I want to talk about is becoming a tattoo artist, getting a license to be a licensed tattoo artist after prison. I read something that I had never heard before, which says that if you have been to prison, it says that that could potentially have your application to get a tattoo license denied. And I have never heard anything like that before. In fact, I know a lot of people who are in apprenticeship programs who are licensed tattoo artists, and they've been to prison. So I don't even know where this information is coming from. This was just something that I read that I definitely tried to look more into. I tried to find states where it was harder to obtain a tattoo license after coming home from prison. I really couldn't find too much information on that either. But this one is one that I just think is absolutely false, saying that, after you're coming home from prison, you're going to have your application denied trying to get a tattoo license because of where you've been at. But again, that's just my opinion on the situation. Hey, I really want to know what all of you think about these 10 things that we discussed in this video. Which one did you think was the craziest? And which one, if any, did you find to be surprising? Hey, look, again, thank you so much to everybody for helping After Prison Show reach 600,000 subscribers. A milestone that is just absolutely amazing to me. And again, special thank you to all of you, because it is because of all of you that this was possible. Hey, look, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace! I also want to give a couple of shout outs real quick from the comment section of yesterday's video. Gator, who says, can we get a call or a video with Dave? Is that possible? I will be bringing you guys an update on Dave very soon. JBiz80, who says, when I see a new video, my lunch break officially begins. Special shout out to you, JBiz. Thank you so much for your support. And also Brennan St. Peter from Twitter, who screenshot us hitting 600K yesterday. Thank you so much. And to everyone else, thank you as well. I do want to start incorporating shout outs again. So if you want to shout out, leave a comment and look for your opportunity to possibly be shouted out in a video just like we've done here.